Are you still having a bit of a hard time aiming in Modern Warfare 3? Well, you came to the right spot. We're gonna get right into the video. No need for an intro. If this is your first time here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. So the first thing you're gonna want to do to improve your aim in Modern Warfare 3 is record your gameplay. This will help you be so much more aware of what you are doing wrong. Taking time to watch your footage back and really analyzing where you may have went wrong in certain situations will improve your game so much more than you may even think. For example, in the moment, you may not have understood why you lost a certain gunfight. If you are recording your gameplay, you can go back and take a peek and then understand maybe that your centering is off, or maybe you didn't quite commit to a gunfight. Maybe you ended up hesitating, but in the moment, maybe you weren't entirely aware of where you went wrong. But watching footage will help you out significantly and help you pull a few layers back. I do know they have the option on both PlayStation and Xbox to record your gameplay, so in this sense, there really isn't any excuse. Start recording your gameplay. Now next, you're gonna wanna fix your centering. A second ago, I mentioned centering. So scroll down over to the interface settings and go over to crosshairs. By default, this will be on. And if you notice, your crosshairs will kind of bounce around as you move, which can really knock your centering off and absolutely knock off your aim. Change this to static. This will assure that your crosshairs are staying in one place, allowing you to be as precise as possible and making sure you are centering where you should be. Now that your crosshairs are on static, we are going to turn on this setting here called center dot, and make sure the center dot scale is set to largest. You can kind of just let this rock maybe until you think you've gotten the hang of aiming, or you can just leave it on all the time like I do myself. This makes you hyper aware of where you are centering, because a lot of players don't necessarily have bad aim, they just have bad centering. If you are running around with your crosshairs on the ground and the player is in front of you, now you have to pull your crosshairs up to hit the target. And if you are centered where you think the enemies will be, you will win a lot more gunfights in this sense. Next, you're going to want to dial in your controller settings. We're not going to get too deep into the controller settings, but we are going to touch base on the essentials. So for controller players, ideally, we want to turn vibration off. This will be the absolute best option because in this game, things seem to be a lot more touchy and the aim assist is a lot less sticky than it was in Modern Warfare 2. So realistically, we need all the help we can get as far as hitting our shots. As you can tell by my settings, yes, I still have this on, but you can adjust the controller vibration intensity. This setting is pretty dope, and if you are a knucklehead like myself and sometimes continue to practice bad habits, this is a good way to meet yourself in the middle. And you don't have to run this at 50%. Maybe you want to run it at 25, 15, or even 10. Whatever the case is, this option is here for you to make adjustments to. Now let's move on over to the aiming tab. Stick sensitivity is all personal preference, but I do find it a tad bit easier to hit shots with things on the lower end. Once again, all personal preference, and I do understand it is different strokes for different folks. Aim response curve type, I highly recommend standard. In Modern Warfare 2, it did seem like dynamic and linear were more efficient than standard, but in this game, definitely try standard. Another thing that is personal preference, but use what works for you. I cannot stress enough how many people think there is only one way to do things just because their favorite pro player or influencer said so. Don't be a sheep. Anyway, I hope your target aim assist is on. That would answer a whole lot of questions if you didn't have that on. Now the aim assist type. I've been having the most success with Black Ops and Default. Default is probably the runner-up, but give them both a try and absolutely go with whatever you are hitting the most shots with. Next, you're going to want to dial in your graphics settings. As far as field of view, this is essentially going to be what best suits you with how close you are sitting to your TV or monitor. Most people will tell you to play on 120, but keep in mind the higher your FOV, the smaller the target will appear on your screen. It is a bit of an illusion, but it can also make it seem like your aim is a little worse than it really is. Try lowering it a tad bit and the targets will appear larger while simultaneously giving you the illusion that your aim is better. ADS field of view, I recommend affected because just like what I mentioned in the FOV slider, the targets appear larger than if it was independent. Weapon field of view, I recommend wide. This will make your weapon appear smaller and essentially make it easier to see enemies. Hopefully your motion blurs are off. This eliminates a lot of extra distracting effects in the game, putting you at a disadvantage when fighting enemies. Now, as far as first-person camera movement, turn this down to least, which is at 50%. This will minimize the majority of that visual recoil and screen shakiness while you are shooting your weapon. And next, invest in control freaks or elevated thumbsticks. Now, I do want to say I am not sponsored or affiliated with Control Freak in any way, but I have been using them for almost a decade now. On the right stick specifically, obviously because that is the stick you aim with. So this won't make a drastic improvement to your aim, but it is another ingredient in the recipe that can make a minor difference that may cost you a gunfight or two. You can get these for about 10 to 20 US dollars, and they come in different heights such as medium and high heights. So these thumbsticks add height to your right stick, which allow you to benefit from increased arc distance and increased control. Increased arc distance means a larger field of movement, so a larger range of motion for fine-tuning your aim, allowing you to snap on targets faster and more precisely. I especially recommend these for players that like to keep their distance and take long-range gunfights. If you are using the high elevated sticks, you can be pretty scary at some long distances. So cancel those OF subscriptions for a month and cop a couple of Control Freaks. You won't regret it. If you know of any more tips and tricks that can improve your aim, feel free to drop them down in the comment section. Unfortunately for the Mutts and Keys players, I really wasn't able to offer any insight in that regard, but you probably wouldn't want to listen to a controller player about trying to improve your aim anyway, right? Well, that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for this video. If you made it to the end, thank you for sticking around. And if you dug the content, check this video out here. We talk about how you can improve your KD in Modern Warfare 3 in cohesion with the video you're watching now. And consider subscribing for more Call of Duty content along with more tips and tricks videos. Thank you all once again. All y'all take care, and I'm out.